Welcome to Life Stories, where real voices reveal the raw truths behind love, trust, and the choices that define us. Today's story is a powerful journey of independence, betrayal, and the quiet strength it takes to stand up against manipulation, even when it comes from those closest to us. What happens when love gets tangled with control? And how far would you go to protect what you've built? Subscribe now to follow this gripping story of one woman's fight to reclaim her freedom. Let's begin today's episode. I never thought my life would take the kind of turn it did. A few years ago, I was living a quiet, structured life in Charlotte, North Carolina. I worked in finance, had my own cozy apartment, and enjoyed the peaceful rhythm of a life built on logic and planning. I'm not the flashy type, never was. I liked budgeting, making spreadsheets, setting long-term goals. For me, stability wasn't boring. It was comforting. Then came Ethan. He had this shy, quirky charm about him, an awkward laugh that used to make me smile without even meaning to. He was sweet, soft-spoken, and a little lost, maybe, but in a way that made me feel like I could help anchor him. We met at a local jazz bar, of all places. He was with friends. I was there to unwind after work. He offered to buy me a drink, nervously stumbling over his words, and I was hooked. We dated for about a year. I knew from early on that he wasn't financially stable. He worked part-time at a craft brewery, chasing some dream of launching his own label one day. I admired that, his passion, his creativity. He didn't make much, but I didn't mind. Love, I believed, was about building a future together, not about tallying up who brought in what. But there was one thing I hadn't factored into the equation: his family. Doug and Karen, his parents, were polite on the surface at first. I still remember the first dinner they invited me to: roast chicken, green bean casserole, and peach cobbler. Karen was all tight smiles and too intense eye contact. Doug was distant, cold. I tried to make conversation, but every word I said seemed to rub him the wrong way. When I mentioned I was raised by a single mother, Doug scoffed. "Well, no wonder you're so independent," he muttered. When I said I loved my job, he followed with, "Women today care more about their careers than their families." Karen gave me that pitying look, the kind that's less about empathy and more about silent judgment. It was subtle, but I felt it, the undercurrent of disapproval, like I was some outsider trying to infiltrate their very traditional, tightly sealed family bubble. I told myself they were just old-fashioned. I could manage that. Ethan wasn't like them, I thought. He supported my career. He respected my independence. We had even agreed, before we got married, to keep our bank accounts separate. We set up a shared spreadsheet for bills, and I handled the bulk of the finances. Not because Ethan was incapable, but because I was better at it. And it worked, at least at first. After the wedding, something shifted. Ethan started spending more time with Doug and Karen. More dinners, longer phone calls. He began quoting his dad more often. "My dad thinks we should be saving more. My mom says it's weird we don't have a joint account. My parents think we should start trying for kids soon." Slowly, subtly, their voices began to replace his own. I tried to talk to him, told him we were fine with the way things were. I had plans: retirement savings, a down payment for a home one day. I wasn't ready to merge our finances until we were truly aligned, until we could make those decisions together. He said okay, but I could see the unease in his eyes. It bothered him. Then came that dinner. Another Sunday at their house. Same menu, same tension. Halfway through the meal, Doug put his fork down and said, "Maya, we've been talking, and we think it's time you stop treating this family like you're on the outside." I blinked. "I'm not sure what you mean." "We helped you two get married. We've supported Ethan through everything, and you won't even give him access to a joint bank account?" I looked at Ethan, waiting for him to speak up, but he just stared at his plate. Doug leaned in, voice rising slightly. "After everything we've done for you, the least you could do is trust your husband with your finances." I turned to Ethan. "Is this how you feel too?" And all he said was, "Maybe a joint account wouldn't be so bad." It felt like a slap. Not because of the account, but because we had talked about this. We had agreed. And now he was throwing that out just because his father told him to? I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I finished my plate. I smiled. And in my mind, I made a quiet, firm decision. That night, Ethan went to bed early, claiming a headache. I stayed up with my laptop, reviewing every account, every line item. I had built our financial safety net with my own hands. If they wanted access to it, if they thought they could demand a share of what I had worked for, then they were about to find out just how wrong they were. And so, while the house was quiet and the world outside slept, I took control. The next morning, before Ethan even woke up, I was already logged into our accounts. My hands didn't shake. My mind didn't waver. I knew exactly what I was doing. I transferred every cent from the shared savings, an account I had fully funded, into a private account in my name only. I closed the joint credit card he rarely paid into, the one I had opened to help him build credit. I changed every banking password, rerouted my payroll deposit, and backed up every statement. I even emailed our landlord to request the lease be put under my name alone. She agreed without hesitation. My credit score spoke for itself. By noon, Ethan's name had vanished from everything. It didn't take long for them to notice. At 10:03 a.m., I got the first text from Ethan. "Hey babe, I think something's wrong with the bank app. I can't see the account." I ignored it. Then came the call, then another from his mom. And at 10:45, Doug's voicemail arrived. I still remember his voice, sharp, angry, offended. "Maya, I don't know what the hell you think you're doing. This isn't just your money. This is a marriage. We brought you into this family. We helped build this life for you. And this is how you thank us? After everything we've done for you?" He was yelling, truly yelling. And yet I sat there in my chair and let it wash over me like a cold wind. That was the moment I fully understood. This wasn't about love or family or security. It was about control. I had taken it back, and they were furious. That evening, Ethan came home quiet and jittery. "Can we talk?" he said, standing awkwardly by the living room door. I nodded. "Why'd you move the money? Why'd you close the card? My dad's freaking out." I looked up from the couch. "That's funny," I said. "Why would your dad be freaking out about our bank accounts?" He didn't answer. That silence said more than he ever could. "You told me you wanted a joint account," I said. "What you really meant was your parents wanted access to my money." "It's not like that," he said. "They just want to make sure we're secure." "No," I replied calmly. "They want control, and you were ready to hand it over." He didn't argue. He just stood there, looking completely lost. When he tried to reach for me, I stepped back. "Get out." He didn't sleep at home that night. In fact, he didn't come back for 3 days. I didn't call, didn't text. I just lived. Made dinner for one, walked the dog, got on with my work. And for every hour that passed without hearing from him or his parents, I felt stronger. But then the subtle harassment started. A fire and brimstone church flyer tucked under my windshield. Emails from anonymous accounts with subject lines like "repent" or "marriage is forever." And then the neighbor who casually mentioned that Ethan had been parked outside our apartment at night, just sitting in his car with the headlights off. Watching. I stayed calm, but I documented everything. Then came the call from my boss. Her voice was low, serious. "Maya, I got a voicemail this morning. A man claiming to be your father-in-law said he was concerned about your moral character, suggested you were misusing company resources." My stomach turned, but she continued, "HR flagged it. We know it's nonsense, but someone's trying to mess with you." And that's when it hit me like a wall. This had never been about a joint account. Not really. This was a campaign, a coordinated effort. They weren't trying to secure Ethan's future. They were trying to break me. It was no longer about money. It was war. Quiet, calculated, and deeply personal. I could feel it every time my phone buzzed with another cryptic email, or when I found another flyer slipped under my door like a whisper from some invisible hand. I didn't react. I documented everything. My gut told me there was more beneath the surface, and I was right. Then I got a call from someone unexpected. "Hi, this is Jessica, Ethan's sister. We had met once at the wedding, barely exchanged a few words." She lived in Ohio, far from Doug and Karen's grip. Her voice was calm but heavy. I know what you're going through, she said. They did the same to my husband. What followed floored me. She told me about how Doug pressured her husband into giving Karen access to their bank account, how it started as a family emergency precaution and spiraled into full-on control. At one point, they even tried to sell her car behind her back. You got out? I asked. We moved to Ohio for a reason. Stay strong. You're not crazy. She had no idea how much I needed those words. Then she told me about the trust fund. Years ago, Doug had set up a trust under Ethan's name, but Ethan wasn't the one managing it. Doug and Karen were. Ethan couldn't touch a cent without their approval. Jessica had only found out when she uncovered documents during her own escape. They told Ethan it was gone, she said. Spent on the wedding or invested somewhere, but it's there and they control it. Suddenly, everything made sense. The guilt, the obsession with joint accounts, their fury when I moved the money. They weren't protecting Ethan from me. They were hiding a secret from him. Fueled by this new knowledge, I started connecting the dots. I pulled out Ethan's old laptop, the one he'd left behind. I'd kept it thinking he might need it someday. As I was clearing it out, something caught my eye. A strange background process running silently. I dug deeper and nearly dropped the laptop. It was spyware. Not just any spyware. Software capable of monitoring screen activity, logging keystrokes, even turning on the webcam without consent. And worse, the logs traced activity back to Doug's IP address. I recognized it from when he had used our Wi-Fi. My heart thudded in my chest. They had been watching us. I took the laptop to a friend who worked in cybersecurity. He confirmed everything. I filed a cyberstalking report and passed everything to my attorney. Not long after, Ethan messaged me. Can we talk? I didn't know they were doing all this. I agreed to meet in public. I brought Jessica with me. He looked terrible, hollowed out, tired. When I told him about the spyware, he stared at me like I just read him a story in another language. I didn't know, I swear. They told me you were trying to take everything from me. Jessica stepped in. You've always believed them, Ethan, but they're the ones taking everything from you, from Maya, from me. He sat on the bench, head in his hands. He looked small, crushed beneath the weight of truth. I didn't say I forgave him. I wasn't sure I ever would. But I did feel something, relief. Later that night, he sent me a screenshot. It was an email from Doug, accidentally CC'd to him instead of Karen. Subject Plan B, get her out. Message, if she doesn't comply, we'll push the mental instability angle. Say she's volatile. Get friends to back us up. Maybe suggest she's having an affair. No family, no kids. She'll break. I read that email 5 times. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I smiled. Because now I had everything I needed. With Doug's email in hand and all the evidence stacked neatly in folders, screenshots, spyware logs, bank records, I knew it was time to end this on my terms. At the mediation meeting, I sat across from Ethan, calm, focused. I slid the printed email across the table, along with the police report on cyberstalking. His face went pale. For the first time, he saw the truth laid bare. My lawyer presented our case clearly, with precision. Ethan's voice trembled as he muttered, I didn't know. But knowledge doesn't erase damage. At the follow-up session, Doug and Karen walked in like they owned the room, still smug, still certain of their influence. They didn't expect Jessica to be there, too. She stood up and exposed everything. Trust fund documents, forged signatures, forced transfers. Doug tried to shut her down, but Ethan finally found his voice. You told me the trust was gone, he said to his father. Was that a lie? Doug didn't answer. Karen whispered, Sweetheart, stop. But it was too late. The room broke open. The truth couldn't be hidden anymore. The lawsuit was dropped within days. The cyberstalking report? Still under investigation, but the damage was done, to them this time. I signed the separation papers with a steady hand. Ethan cried. I didn't. I moved to a new city, bought a little house of my own, got promoted, quiet, safe, mine. Sometimes I still think about it, not with sadness, but with clarity. Because this wasn't just about a joint bank account. It was about reclaiming power, about refusing to be owned. People like Doug and Karen don't scream when you argue. They scream when they lose control. And that day, When they opened their apps and realized everything was gone, they screamed. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories for more powerful real life tales just like this.